Hello there, welcome. Thank you again for joining me. Today I want to talk a little bit about sexual trauma and the energies of sexual trauma and how that hangs out in our energy body, our physical body, our emotional and mental body, and in our spirit. I recognize I usually show up with a little bit more boisterous energy, but this topic is kind of heavy and sad. So I guess my mood is feeling that. Um, I I want to talk about how prevalent this energy of sexual trauma is in our society, not at just an individual level, but at a collective level, a societal level. It's very heavy in our experience. So many of us are working with this and dealing with this. Not only women, I support women through my work here with Healing Sacred Feminine, but there's so many men that are dealing with this trauma as well. And it's just not really out in the public quite as much, but I think it's going to start becoming more so as we start understanding how prevalent it is and men start feeling more comfortable coming out and sharing these energies and their experiences. But part of what I really work with is the intergenerational trauma, the ancestral trauma, and how it carries forth through to our own personal experience, how the energies get passed on generation to generation to generation, not only through our physical DNA, but our the patterns and behaviors that get passed down from generation to generation, the fear energies, the stress, the anxiety, the disease in the body that comes from being in traumatic situations and not being able to heal fully through those. So all of these things, all of these energies get passed on at many different levels. So it's really very complex and very layered and textured. Excuse me. And then when we come in, we are born into our experience, our lived experience, and we come in with these various different energies and fear-based patterns and traumas that we've inherited, and then we pick up our own as we go on through our own lives. We experience our own personal traumas. Sexual trauma, sexual abuse is so prevalent that more often than not, the people I discuss or connect with, we end up discussing their own experiences of this. And it's really rare that I meet somebody who hasn't been affected by this, hasn't had their own experiences of it. And it's really sad, but that's the reality of it. And because we each are dealing with this at our own different level, whether it be inherited from our families and through previous generations and not maybe our own lived experience, whether it be that or whether it be our own experience on top of those energies that we've inherited, we're all working with it, or we know somebody who is, so we're working with it at that level. And then we enter into relationships with others, and regardless if they're sexual relationships or not, we bring all of that traumatic energy and that fear-based energy and unhealthy patterns and behaviors, we bring that into these relationships with us. And we act from defensive places, aggressive places, fear-based places, shut down places, numb places, traumatized places. And we wonder why we are not able to connect with each other and why we're not able to move through these things and support each other through this, because it's just been so convoluted and confused for us. And we don't really have a lot of healthy ways, healthy role models to help us move through these. I mean, we can go to therapy, of course, if we recognize that we need therapy, and if we find the right therapist and we work with the right modalities. But that can be a very long, drawn out process. And there's not, people are starting to understand more the ancestral aspect of it, the intergenerational aspect, the inherited aspect of these traumas, but it's just now starting to get into the collective and the understanding of how these traumas work and how the energy flows through the generations. It's not just, it doesn't just start with us. We came into this and we came in with this, and I think a lot of talk therapy is helping us to try to find a root cause of some of our issues that we're working with, and behaviors and patterns and belief systems, thought processes, mentalities, trying to get to this source. What happened in your childhood? What happened to create this? What happened in your family? But it's these energies have been with us for so long that we can't really get to the root of them. We can't get to that level to pick it apart and understand, oh, it was this, and I can forgive this. I need to work through that experience. It's just such a bigger energy. And we really need to work with it at that level and that understanding, and appreciate that it's not necessarily our own stuff that we're working with. And when we can, pull back out and get a much bigger view and a bigger perspective, it's a lot easier to disentangle ourselves from what is our energy versus what isn't. We can depersonalize it and recognize, like, whoa, okay, this isn't all my stuff. So it's not surprising I'm not able to untangle it, because it's not mine. It's not my own. And then from that place, how do we work with those much bigger energies that have been with us for a long time, that have come from other places, and there's ways to work with that. There's a lot of ways to work with that energy that's much bigger. Also, not only through the generations in our own family, but the generations throughout society and through on the planet. There's just a real heavy, dense energy of fear and trauma that surrounds the planet. So, and again, that's not our energy. It's very challenging right now to be whole, healthy people in the environment that we're in, eating the foods that we are. There's just, with all the 5G stuff, there's so many layers of challenging energy that we're surrounded with, that it's hard to get out from underneath it. And we really have to work with it at so many levels and be aware on so many levels. And it's not enough for us to just simply kind of work on our own trauma. Really, we have to work with all of the energies out there and be aware and conscious of them, and work with what we're eating and the people we're surrounding ourselves with, the activities that we're engaging with, the media, the social media that we're filling our time with and our space with, and technology. There's a lot out there that we need to sift through, and this trauma piece is one big part of it, but it's not the only part. So that's kind of where I come from, or am working from, is like a holistic perspective, and recognizing there's so many parts to this. It's not just our own personal stuff. I mean, we need to work with that, of course, but recognizing also that there's much bigger things going on than just me, just you. Excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat there. I wanted to talk about this because maybe in hopes of depersonalizing it a little bit and helping you to appreciate just how big these energies are, and that there is an important need for different ways to work with them than what we've been working with up until now. Part of the bigger awareness in the collective with this intergenerational trauma is learning how to work with that intergenerational trauma. And I have found, there's a number of ways to do this, working with our ancestors, working to heal our ancestors, working with time, working with unraveling the bigger energies and healing backwards through time. heals ourselves in real time. When we clear the energy for them, we clear it from ourselves. In this new understanding of our quantum reality, we're moving out of that Newtonian physics, and we have a much bigger understanding of how the energy works, and that we are energy, and that time and space is irrelevant. Everything is happening right now in this moment, which means our ancestors' energy is right here in this moment. When we heal them, we heal ourselves in this moment. When we heal ourselves, we're healing them in this moment, and we're healing future generations. When we clear this energy from ourselves, from our ancestors, we're clearing it from the planet. We're clearing it from the future. When we don't heal the energy, it continues on. It continues on. It stays, but there's ways to work with that sound frequency, because everything is frequency and vibration. Right now, we're living in a very dense, low vibration frequency for the most part. That's what's hanging out on our planet. That's what all this fear and trauma is. It's on the planet, that's in our bodies, that's surrounding us. It's low vibe frequencies. And when we can clear those with sound, with intention, with other practices, a lot of practices, there's many ways to work with this, but when we can clear that energy and raise it up to a high vibration frequency, that just changes everything for the whole planet. And if we're all doing this work, if we're all getting on board with this, clearing the low vibes and just moving into high vibes, it really changes our experience, and it changes the experience for the ancestors, many of which their energy is just stuck here. It's stuck here because it was traumatized, and it was not, when it is traumatized, it gets kind of stuck here. The trauma keeps us stuck in this low vibration frequency. And so our ancestors oftentimes aren't able to move into the light, however you want to, whatever terminology you want to use, they aren't able to cross over because they've been stuck in this energy. And there's a lot. Part of the density here on the planet is our ancestors and the people that have come before us. And when they died, they weren't able to move over to where they needed to go because of their own traumas and their anger and their fear that was keeping them trapped here. They had no guidance. They had no way to move forward. They were too scared. Part of them was stuck. They weren't able to make the transition in a healthy way. So we're continuing to deal with that frequency, that energy. It's still stuck here, and that's part of the density. Is so much of that is just stuck here on the planet. When people die in a healthy way, I mean in a healthy way, consciously, and being held and supported and guided through their death. And not dying with a whole bunch of anger and unfinished business, as they say, unresolved energies, unhealthy relationship patterns, and anger and trauma from their own sexual abuse or other war. When people die in war, they're dying with all of that heavy energy, and they just get stuck in it. They're not able to move forward, and there's nobody there to support them to move forward. So when that happens, it's just stuck here. That's the part of why it's so dense. We're hanging out in that energy, and part of why the intergenerational trauma, part of why the ancestral trauma, because it didn't get resolved. So it's stuck in our physical body. It's stuck in our energetic experience. It's stuck on the planet. So part of the healing for ourselves is healing the ancestors, healing their energies, clearing that trauma for them with intention, with sound, with communication. We start talking to them. We start talking to our ancestors and open up those lines of communication and saying, how can I help? How can I support you? What needs to be resolved? I'm so sorry for your anger and for your pain, but I love you. I'm here to help you. And how do we work with this together and bring it forward and embrace and bring them in? Working at this level, again, because they're right here. When we do this work, it heals them. And when we help them to make a smoother transition to cross over, it frees them and it frees ourselves by releasing that energy, by clearing those patterns, clearing those unhealthy patterns, clearing the fear, clearing the anger, clearing the trauma, clearing the grief, clearing the sorrow, clearing the rage. It clears it from the planet, and everything here gets lighter. We start moving into those higher vibe frequencies because the density is being cleared. So it's just more light is allowed to pour onto the planet as we clear more and more of the fear. As we clear it from ourselves, more light is allowed into our bodies, our physical bodies, our energetic bodies, our minds, our spirits, our emotions get cleared. We can release that unhealthy, fear-based traumatic emotions and move into higher frequencies. I realized recently when I would use the word ascension, which didn't quite feel right because we're not like going anywhere. We're not ascending into heaven, and then I just realized like ascending means ascending ourselves from a low vibe frequency into a high vibe frequency. So we're not going anywhere. We're just ascending our energy frequency. And so that's the ascension. And that opens us up to more love and more joy. So that's how I work with these traumatic, fear-based energies, because we're carrying them in ourselves. We're made up of them. When somebody experiences, let's say, sexual trauma, sexual abuse, say a person in their childhood was being raped or molested or something by a family member or by anybody, they take in that energy, they take in the pain of the perpetrator, because somebody's not doing that when they're in a healthy place. There's great pain and trauma that person has gone through to need to put it off onto another person and to try to rid themselves of their own trauma. They give it to another person, and they try to pass off the energy in that way. This again how everything works. Everything is energy. So they're passing off their traumatized, fear-based anger and rage energy, their grief and their sorrow and their sadness, and they're passing it on to the other person in a way to try to heal themselves and try to rid themselves of it. I know it's convoluted and not doesn't make any sense, but that's how it works. So now this person, perhaps a young child, is now holding all of that, and they're creating their own trauma and fear-based energies from that. So now they've got their own, and they don't have any skills and tools how to work with that. So they move forward in shame and fear and mistrust and rage and anger and sorrow and grief and all of the things, and it doesn't get healed. And then they take that forward into their lives. They take it into their bodies too. This is where disease comes from, in the body is holding all of this stress and fear and anger and rage. Holding it in the body creates disease and problems and all sorts of physical issues, emotional issues. There's PTSD, there's stress, there's anxiety, there's going to be possibly eating disorders. Addiction is a way to try to deal with this pain and suffering. Very unhealthy relationship patterns that come through, because when we're not whole and healthy ourselves, we start to attract unhealthy people that match our frequency. And this is again how it's perpetuated these energies, and how we attract more unhealthy things into us when we're vibing at that low vibe. So we move into the future with this. We move into adulthood with these patterns and these unhealthy behaviors. And then maybe we have children, and we pass those energies on to our child who comes in, who is now just automatically vibrating at a low level frequency because that's what they're made of. How could they not, and they don't know any different. So it's normalized for them. They come in at this normalized low vibration state of being. And then they go through their life and they are their parents, their mother, who is dealing with her own sexual abuse and really unhealthy patterns and emotions. Of course, she's not able to give the child a real healthy way of real healthy connection. There's attachment issues, there's unhealthy emotions, there's unhealthy ways of relating. So now this child who's already vibing at a low vibration frequency is learning really unhealthy patterns from this person, from their mother, from their parents. And they don't know any better, and they don't know how to move out of that. They don't even know to move out of that. It's just so normalized. And they attract other low vibe frequencies, other people, and oftentimes a very similar situation, sexual abuse situation, because again, like attracts like, all these low vibration frequencies just gravitate towards others, and we kind of call in the very traumas that we're trying to heal from. We just, again, it gets perpetuated, and that's just the way energy works. It's hard to move out of that and without a lot of consciousness and a lot of support to move into a higher vibration. When we're surrounded by low vibration, that's just all we know. And we can see that here in society. There's so much low vibration stuff, and it's just so normalized and so supported and held. Everything around us is very low vibe frequency and really supporting the anger and the fear and the rage and the grief. It's supporting all of that. All the systems in play only strengthen those feelings for ourselves and that experience for ourselves. And we have to really seek it out and do a lot of freaking work to move out of that and to step away from all that we know, really, and all that is supported, and to go like, hey, this isn't working for me. Something's wrong here. And I need to change this. I need to change this for myself. Even when everybody around you is saying, no, this is all normal. This is great. Here, just have some pizza and have another beer. But we're feeling like shit. And nothing is feeling right. And we know there's a problem. So, but anyways, this is how the energy gets perpetuated, and why it is so challenging to move out of it, and why it is so challenging to just talk our way out of these low vibe frequencies, because it's not about a mind. It's not in the mind. It's our makeup. It's our makeup. It's in our bodies. These low vibration frequencies, that's where we're vibrating at. We just are that. So until we start working at it at that level, working with frequency, working with sound, getting into our energy channels, really working with that, getting into the mind and clearing that with sound and vibration also, because all of the thought patterns, all of the emotional patterns, it's all a frequency. Everything is frequency. So much can happen when we work with meditation, breath work, sound, light, frequency. So many ways that frequency, essential oils, crystals, these are all different frequencies that can be very healing when we use them with intention and use them in that way. But we have to recognize what we're trying to move out of and really, really work to do so. And we're really just changing our whole makeup, and in a society that's very low vibe, that really supports the low vibration. So it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work and a lot of consciousness. I'm not gonna fluff it and say this is easy, because it's not. And so many of us, again, if we aren't dealing with our own personal sexual trauma, it's in our family. I guarantee you that. And it's around, it's with people that we're connecting with. So that's a real big piece for us. And physical abuse trauma. I mean, there's just so much personal trauma. And then there's the trauma of the violence, the genocide that is part of our experience and part of our history, the war that many of our family members were a part of. whether in this country or where people immigrated from. There's that kind of trauma in our history as well. So there's just so much. There's just so much, and it didn't get resolved before. It did not get resolved, and now we are here to work on it. And I do believe that that is part of what we are here to do, and why there's so much consciousness being raised around it right now. This is our job. This is our role right now. We're here to heal because we have so much more consciousness. We have so much support to do this work. It is beautiful. And it's an honor and a privilege, really, to be doing this work. And I'm thrilled. I mean, it was rough. It's been a rough road. Won't lie. I've gone through so much of my own grief and sorrow and trauma and pain. And it's been a long journey, but I know now that I went through all that, so I would have a very deep understanding of how this energy works and how energy healing works, how sound healing works, how vibration and frequency work. That's just, and now I'm excited to be able to share that with others and really support them on their journey and have a deeper understanding of how the energy works here on the planet and at our own personal level, the collective level, the planetary level, the cosmic level. It's all intertwined, and anything we do for ourselves really supports the collective and supports the planet and supports the future generations. So I think that kind of went, I think I kind of got what I was trying to say out. I always just come into these just like with a little idea and I see where it goes. So I don't take notes or have like a necessarily, thought out plan of highlights of what I want to talk about. Maybe I should try that sometime. But I think, I just wanted to share with you a bit about where I'm coming from, what I'm so passionate about supporting us to work through, and why I'm so passionate about energy healing and sound healing and shamanic practices, working with time, working with our ancestors, working with clearing the fear-based frequencies at a personal level, at an ancestral level, at a collective level, at a planetary level. There's a lot that we can do to really work with this and drastically change our experience and bringing more consciousness and understanding to how these energies work, and that they are so embedded in us that we need to work at that level. And I just wanted to start that conversation. I know that more will come out because I know this feels a little convoluted maybe, but that's where I'm coming from. And so thank you for being here. And that's part of the other thing. I don't have it all figured out. I don't have this perfect presentation. I just have a lot of passion in my heart and just such a strong desire to support us to move out of the low vibe frequencies. And I don't have all the answers and I don't have the miracle cure, but I am here to hold space for you, and I have created a really beautiful container for you to move into your grief and sorrow and really face it head on and recognize it, bring it up to the surface, because so much of this shit is unconscious, and that's why we're so unhappy. We're just like, it's underneath, it's running below the surface, and we don't know how to get above it because it's not ours. Again, I know we talked about this a lot in the beginning of this, but there's great freedom. There's great freedom that arises when we start bringing that unconscious stuff up to the surface and release it. That's how I work. We deep dive into the issues. We deep dive into where these energies came from and bring them up to the surface, and then use the sound and the energy healing and shamanic practices to clear it out, and then we deep dive in there and dig more stuff up and then clear it out. But until we bring it to the conscious, we can't work with it. That's how it is. So, and that's the beauty of energy work. Once you clear a level of this pain and fear and grief, you clear it out, that allows for more to come up. So it's really an excavation process. And again, it's not, it's not a quick fix. It's not an easy thing. It's an ongoing journey, because the energies are so dense and have been here for so long, and we're working with so much that isn't our own. So, but we have the tools, we have amazing things, and beautiful things happen. Just so much ease and freedom can show up just really quickly, and then we dive in again and bring up more and work through that. And then ease and freedom, dive in again, bring it up, work through that, ease and freedom. And we just keep getting more flow. The more we clear out the density, the more the light flows in. The more the light flows in. The more the light flows in. That opens us up to greater love, to greater creativity, greater sense of self-worth, a greater understanding that we are that love and light that we're seeking. We are that. We are made of that. That's why we long for it so desperately, because we know that's the truth of who we are. And clearing away this low vibe stuff helps us to really experience that and know the truth of that. So I know that process for myself. I've gone through this. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I'm confident in the process and how it does work. And I've experienced the joy and the freedom and the ease and the clarity and the self-worth and the did I say creativity, the flow, the vitality, the greater health, so much more ease in my body, my physical body, so much more spiritual connection, so much more mental flow and clarity, so much more in alignment with my psychic abilities, with my intuition, with healthier connections, healthier relationships, just so much more flow and abundance and just amazing things, when we start to clear all the things that are blocking us, all the things that are blocking our energy. All of that fear and trauma is just stuck here in our energy body. And the minute we start clearing it out, like really intentionally, it just really allows for so much more flow and ease and beauty. So that's where I'm coming from. And, this is where I'll take an opportunity to mention my sessions, my energy healing, sound healing sessions that are just really powerful for getting into this process. And we work with the ancestors. We work with clearing this low vibe frequency. We work with clearing the traumatic energies that are stuck in your physical body and your energy body. We work with clearing the grief, bringing the unconscious grief up and clearing it. And, the energy healing sessions, I have a few programs that are just a really deep dive into it to support you to recognize all of the ways that this energy is showing up, where all of these low vibe frequencies are showing up and being enforced in your life. There are many choices that we make on a daily basis, many of them unconscious choices that keep us in alignment with the low vibe frequencies, because again, that's what our society supports and it's built on. All the systems and structures are in place to maintain those low vibe frequencies. So this 12-week program that I have really gets into every aspect of your life. What are you doing to align with low vibe frequencies? Let's recognize that. Let's really see where that's happening for you, so you can bring more consciousness to those activities, to those surroundings, to those ways of being, those patterns of body, speech, and mind, our thought patterns, our belief systems. Let's look at those unconscious things. And once we're aware of them, now we can look at new ways to change them. We can look at how do we move out of those low vibe patterns and behaviors and frequencies and move into the high vibe frequencies that really support our growth and our healing and the connections that we want to have, the relationships we want to have, the jobs or careers that we want to have, the creativity, the self-worth, the love that we want to have. once we bring awareness to the ways that we're not actually supporting what we truly want, then we can change it. So this really dives into looking at every aspect of your life and how you're spending your day, how you're spending, how you're doing relationships, how you're doing your own like nutrition, how you're doing everything. It's everything. We look at sexuality, like what kind of patterns are going on there, how are we attracting in more, just being unconscious around that. There's just so many things. I highly encourage you to check out my website if that sounds appealing to you, and you can, it really gets into a lot of depth about what is going on in that program. And then I offer a 6-week program that is Women Healing Through Intergenerational Trauma, that is all about getting into what we've been talking about here, really getting into the trauma, looking at all the violence perpetuated against women for thousands of years, how that is just passed on, because it hasn't been healed. And again, it's just hanging out here, the patriarchy, the misogyny, the sin, the original sin, all this, women are the the originators of sin. Like, that is just really intense. And so we're carrying this guilt, shame, blame, punishment mentality, lack mentality, poverty consciousness, scarcity consciousness. We're carrying all of this trauma, grief, fear, violence in our bodies. It's been going on for so long, and then many generations, and then we give birth to new people, and then they're giving birth, so it's just like all the way down the line. And now we get to this place, and it's like, who are we beyond that trauma and beyond all those energies? Like, we don't even know anymore. So this program is geared to really dive into that, look at all the violence, sift through that, get in, clear that, work with the ancestors, work with our grief, recognize how that's shown up in many different ways. There's a number of different ways that grief shows up for us and runs below the surface. There's so much that we're grieving. There's so much loss that's just been a part of humanity, for so long. And so again, when we bring that into our conscious, then we can start to work with it. So we use a lot of ritual. Each of these programs comes with an energy healing session every week. So we do sound healing and energy healing every week to clear these energies. So we're not only it's not about just talking about this stuff, because that really isn't gonna do it. We need to work with this at an energetic level. So these programs each week comes with a session, an energy healing session, to actually, we dive in, we bring consciousness to it, we have a teaching on it, we understand it, we see how it's showing up for us. How does this stuff show up for me in my lived experience? How am I working with this grief? Bring it up, and then we clear it out of your energy body. We clear it, which clears it out of your physical body and your mind and your spirit and your emotions. We bring all this stuff up. We bring this grief up. We bring it out and we clear it out. So each week is a different ritual. We get into ritual, and it's an intensive writing as well, because writing is the most powerful tool to really get in there. Talk about, deep diving. So, and that brings it up to the surface again, and the energy healing clears it out. And then we have a lovely death and rebirth ceremony at the end to rebirth into your new self, phoenix rising from the ashes. We put to death that old way of being. Now you have so much more consciousness. Now you have this new energy body. Now you have these new understandings. Now you are super empowered and strong and courageous, and you understand what you're working with. It's no longer unconscious. You've brought it up to the conscious. You are empowered with knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and now you can move forward from that place. In a new energy body. It's a powerful, powerful, powerful program. They're both extremely powerful. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I also, Sacred Feminine Book Club, working with goddesses and archetypes, month-long immersion. So I have a lot of different things. I have drum ritual, because drum, again, there's that frequency, personalized drum ritual I offer. New Moon Drum Circle if you're in the Portland, Oregon area. Lots of stuff going on. So yeah, I'm just super excited and super passionate about supporting us all to move beyond these low vibe frequencies. And this sound healing is a powerful way to do it. And all of my spiritual experience on my spiritual path, being a practitioner, spiritual practitioner, and all of my many years of education. I just master's in thanatology, which is study of death, dying, and bereavement. Bachelor's in social work, associates in gerontology, and certificates in end-of-life care, minor in writing, love to write, and many, many, many other classes and certificates. I love going to school. I really love learning. So that's been a real highlight of my life, and really, really brought into focus and structure a lot of the things that I'd been working with. And I think it's a beautiful blend of my spiritual path and my academic path to bring all of this together, and my energy healing path. So it's created a lovely convergence of ways to support us all to move forward. And it's just a beautiful time to be alive on the planet right now with all this healing that's going on. I know some people are in like real chaos, but it's an exciting time because we're moving through, and there's so much support here. There's so much support. So thank you so much for listening. If you got all the way through this, I'm so thrilled. So thank you for being here. It's just an absolute pleasure to be connecting. I love these YouTube videos. I really do. So reach out with any questions that you might have, and like and subscribe, do all those things, comment. I would love to hear from you. Reach out, yeah, let's do this thing. I'm so thrilled to be here and thrilled to be connecting with you. So I look forward to more. Bye.